meeting you for the first time. So far, things are going extremely well, especially given the fact that Elliott Spitzer's in the race. Actually, I wanted to win. It's probably the only time that I'll actually root for Elliott Spitzer. But I do plan to beat them in November. Should he be fortunate to win. I think with the latest current events with Weiner, I think that does nothing but help my case with respect to solid conservative values, as well as being fiscally conservative. Just a few tidbits of information. As you already know, we're facing our own version of local fiscal cliff with respect to our pension funds and rising healthcare costs. Healthcare costs is expected to rise about 40% by 2017. And New York City is on the top 10 list of cities with respect to pension funds being underfunded. Currently, we're ranked number 7 of the 10. Our funds are due to expire in about 6 years, and currently $122 billion underfunded. That's a lot of money. So we have to make sure that we can avoid using taxpayer dollars, right, to fund the pension plan. We do that 2 ways. One, to make sure that the right person is in there overseeing it, and that we reach our annual return to the best of our ability. I think one question before that I was asked here and other venues, would I use the funds for social initiatives? I don't mind that, as long as that social initiative is giving me the same type of return as other comparable investments. Because again, I will be against using taxpayer dollars to fund the pension when the pension should be self-sustaining. You can't count on, you know, 8.3 million taxpayers, general population as far as taxpayers, paying into an X number, finite number of retirees. It just doesn't make sense fiscally. And then, of course, you know, I still fathom the spending billions of dollars to overhaul a 911 system and some other projects. Yeah, I just can't believe it costs that much. Coming from financial services, we've rolled out, you know, global upgrades that didn't cost $1 billion. So I don't understand why a contract like that was actually engaged. So it's contracts like that. Exactly. I think we're engaging in contracts that are overinflated. And also, believe it or not, John Liu made a very good point at a forum in Harlem, saying that there are certain contracts that have certain clauses where, okay, you have to invest in this, you have to do this, you have to use these vendors. But no one is actually going to enforce those contracts or do audits to make sure those contracts are adherent to riders. And for the life of me, I'm not too sure why he's not enforcing it within his office. But there are certain clawbacks that the city can actually, you know, take certain vendors to court. Actually, I just saw a Chick-fil-A t-shirt. I just love Chick-fil-A. But actually, I want to bring a franchise to New York City. But yeah, we have to enforce the contracts. When they don't adhere to certain riders that will actually help our economy, then we need to go back and take a portion of what we doled out to them. So that's part of the enforcement, and you don't hear that too often with respect to the Comptroller's office. One reason, in part, is that many times after year one, if it takes that long of a person in the Comptroller's office, they're running for mayor. So they're busy campaigning for the next position opposed to really executing and doing a very good job in terms of managing their annual budget, making sure that the investments are going well with respect to the pension funds, and also making sure that they have a very robust audit schedule with actionable steps of execution to make sure that whoever's not doing the right thing, that they have corrective action plans, and if they're not adhering to those plans, certain enforcement requirements to make sure that they do it. So things like that only a person that is independent, not a person that's inside government, auditing their friends. I think a person like me coming in as independent can actually bring about that level of accountability and transparency. So hopefully, you've checked out my website, www.johnburnett2013. In addition to looking at my issues that I plan to address, hopefully you click the donate button as well to help me raise the certain amount of funds that's needed to take advantage of the Campaign Finance Board. I see other fellow campaigners in here like Andy Sullivan, who I'm quite sure is also taking advantage of the campaign finance.
And try not to get arrested at the same time.
Absolutely.
That's the thing. I'm trying to avoid the entrapment process of the Campaign Finance Board.
How are your finances, by the way? You can get the message out, you have enough money?
You can never, I'm quite sure Andy can attest to this, you can never have enough money.
Because I remember working for Neil Guardi, Townsend, and what you want for Senate. They didn't have 2 dimes to rub together. All 3 of them had no radio ads at all. They had nothing. So if you can't get the message out, what you're saying is just going nowhere.
Actually, I was on a conservative talk show yesterday, and it went so well, they reached back out to me and said, well, let me know if a weekly schedule is too aggressive for you. We can work something out. Because they said, we like your message and we want to help you get that message
I'm sure
out.
we do, but how about everybody else?
I'm working on that as well. In fact, last week, Monday, I had an hour-and-a-half interview with the Daily News. Hopefully, we'll be publishing some stories. Post had 2 great articles, one on the 2nd page, one on the 27th page. And they'll probably contact me within a week or so to do another update on my campaign.
Good.
So the message is actually getting out, not only in mainstream media, but also the local papers. I was in Queens Press, which is Southeast Queens publication, and a couple of places in Brooklyn also reached out to me. So it'll definitely ramp up in terms of the local messaging as well as the mainstream media.
Good.
John, great to see you. Thanks for coming. When you spoke about social programs and putting them in 2 categories, there's ones that you feel that yield some kind of revenue for the city, and the ones that wouldn't. Do you have any ones in particular you can point to and say, this is a social program I would support without getting into the weeds?
Well, what I meant by that, and just a point of clarification, is let's say there's green energy, and there's a company that has a great idea but may not be profitable, and they need capital. Well, let the free markets risk their capital into that idea. If it works well, great. If it works well later on down the road and it presents an opportunity for a comparable return versus, let's say, a blue chip company, I'm willing to use, or I should say invest, the pension funds into that, let's say, green energy idea. But in its beginning stages, when it's unproven and high risk, I see it as a violation of my fiduciary responsibility as an overseer of the pension funds to use pension funds just to make a statement of support for green energy that hasn't produced continued and sustainable cash flow.
John, thanks for coming back to the club. So the people you're running against, the best known, obviously, Elliott Spitzer, and then the field of candidates, we have, all-stars like Wiener and Dino Lopez, and now another assemblyman who's running for city council, Micah Kellner, who's done some things that are questionable too. And now, obviously, the Republican, there are party millions of people, like the Republican Party, there's a couple people who aren't perfect either, but in New York City, and candidates like yourself and Joe Lota and John Catsimatidis and George McDonald, they're all pretty decent people. How are we going to get the message out that, well, you got these guys over here, and then you got people like us who are pretty honest, pretty straightforward, very honest and straightforward, and we're going to do the right thing for the city?
I think one thing, we have to be consistent. So our message has to be consistent. And I think we have to employ more social media when the media is not going to give us the attention that we should be afforded. So social media is a great way to connect and get the message out consistently. And also do some outreach. We can't say, all right, I'm not going to Harlem because there's no votes there. Spend a little time. You're making an investment.
Andy was in Coney Island, and mostly black community was where all the housing developments were. And when we went outside, exactly what you said, 3 people came up and says, it was nice to see a Republican. There were 4 Democrats he debated against, and he was the only one there. And they said, if there was a minister that was running. They said if he doesn't win, and this church has hundreds of members, they said we're going to vote for Andy because Andy. They said you spoke from the heart. You said what you had to say, and they were so impressed and happy that a Republican actually reached out exactly what you said. Only island where it would be hostile territory, and right, all you did was people clapping for him. I mean, he spoke from the heart. He basically, I cringed because he said he was going to hold people accountable, hold against the wall and rip their own. I was like, oh boy.
We have to move.
But that impressed him because you spoke.
Absolutely.
You're not a career counselor. So exactly what you said is 100% right. You guys in those communities.
I mean, I think this is an opportunity for the party to move beyond our own paradigms. To say, well, certain communities will not vote for us because such and such. Let's not do it. They're thinking for them, right?
Exactly, 100%.
Let's just continue to outreach, have a consistent message. Don't let the liberal media dictate how we communicate to all communities. Let's own our own message. Get out there face to face. Hey, social media, I was walking down the street and one lady I started talking with, and she's like, wow, I like your ideas. And she automatically assumed I was a Democrat. And I said, I'm actually Republican. And she says, what? There's black Republicans? I said, yes. Few in number, but we are here. Yeah, I live in Harlem. So she said, wow. She said, okay. And she said, well, I'm a Democrat, but you sound okay. I'm taking your literature, I'll look at your website. Next thing you know, she sent me a check. Wow. And she said that she's going to vote for me. But had I never stopped, took the time to explain, not in a dogmatic way, right? In a practical way, in a conversation. Not preaching, just having a conversation. Next thing you know, people don't want to be preached to. Let's have a conversation about the real issues. And actually encouraging to think through the issues through a different lens. And once you do that, appeal to the common sense, people will start coming around. This is an opportunity. I'm running not just to win this particular seat, right? But to also shift political ideology. This is no better time than to do it now. And if we act in a concerted manner, we open. I can't speak for Katz alone, but people like Andy, varying levels of politics. If we do what we can in that regard, you would be amazed how many people are open to a different message, especially the youth.
Everyone wants a job, everyone wants money.
Absolutely. Because they can see, well, it's been 5 years after the debacle. I don't see much happening.
Katz did speak about reaching out to other groups, by the way. Yeah, good.
And he should, coming from 135th Street.
Yeah, that's what he meant.
You were talking before about the unions and funding. I was wondering, is there any way that we can bring an action against somebody for breach of fiduciary duty? Early this year, in the aftermath of the shootings up in Connecticut, a whole bunch of union fund administrators announced they were divesting their stocks in a whole bunch of gun companies, which by itself depressed the value of those stocks. So when they finally got around to selling them, they sold them at a discount.
Did you buy some of the stock?
No, it wasn't buying opportunity. As a matter of fact, there were stories on what a buying opportunity it was. Those gun companies have been making a fortune, by the way, in the last couple of years. But that was one thing. Also, there's a handful of companies that have factories in New York. More or less announced they've taken the factories out of New York State. They're going to other states that are gun-friendly. But I'm talking about the investment part. There were lots of union funds who had these stocks, and their administrators announced in advance that they were selling the stocks. That's, to me, that's a breach of fiduciary duty because they're supposed to maintain the value of the stock until they unload it.
That's a good point, Jim.
That's a very good point. This is the reason why emotions should not take precedent over sound business in investment principles. You got to have the understanding that whatever you say or do can affect the stock. This is another reason why someone like Elliott Spitzer should not get in there, because he's looking to use the controller's position for shareholder activism. Shareholder activism many times will theoretically or during an interim period depress the stock. So it's that situation. But it's counterintuitive, because many of these investments are being made by the pension fund in these securities, public securities. So while you're trying to push and promote and advocate for shareholder activism, you're actually potentially depressing the value of the stock. So what benefit are you really achieving, other than rehabilitating the personal career? You got to get that message out.
John, could you tell everyone your website so they can help us donate?
Yes, again, Burnett 2013. I think there's some material going around. Again, we'll peruse the entire site, but definitely stop at the donate page.
You can also donate now. Donate now.
Actually, yeah, we have technology here where we travel with, portable technology. We have an iPad, those that like to contribute now. And then also I'm looking for volunteers. Again, I'm looking to go into all communities. I can't go by myself, but I'll make rounds and help out each team to get out the message. And again, I think one of the key principles is not to be preachy, but for grace. But that doesn't mean water down the truth. It's how it's presented. I think we have a lot of ears if we have the right message. Not just this election, but it's changing and shifting ideologies. And even if they don't switch parties, at least if you shift their paradigm, they'll be open to understanding the real issues in the future and voting for the person that's most qualified. That's what it's all about.
Thank you, John. Do you have a campaign list that you could give us today? Or could,
Yes, we'll leave some, and I have more on the
you
way.
can contact me and then I'll do a campaign. Thank you so much.
It's possible we can take a group photo?
Yeah, come on, let's do a group photo. And then we're going to have